We're live in Manhattan, and we have NHL All-Star Taylor Hall with us.
My past roommate
Your
in
boy.
a different life in Edmonton, and it's great to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on. So, experience of coming into this office, I mean, I walk in, and the elevator opens, and then just 30 people stare up and look at you. I was so intimidated. I felt like a peasant.
Literally, no one says anything. They just look at you.
Yeah, and you're like, I thought I was coming
back.
into a party. I'm like, oh, people are going to be drinking, and they're just down on their computers working. I'm like, I guess this is what it's like.
Yeah, you wait like confetti cannons and stuff. Like, and Bart Simpson thinks he's going to Mad Magazine. It's a wild scene. You walk in, and it's like an iPhone factory in here.
And the lady in the front, I was like, hey, she's like, what? I was like, holy shit, man, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But it's a great honor to be in the studios. And before we really get into it, Dave isn't here, so I can't fucking shoot on him.
What? I came out of my way to come to Charlestown.
I cut a stick. I took, my knobs that I used to use.
Yeah.
So I used to use when we played. I have like a wooden piece that I shaved down, so it's not as thick as the shaft of the stick because I'm not used to holding a thick shaft. So I got to be.
I know.
So I had Grinelli come pick my stick up, tape it up. I brought a twig here because
I took the extension out.
Yeah, shaft.
Yeah, that took me took me forever.
And he's not here. So apparently he needed to get his tooth out today. I mean, I find it a little convenient. Everyone else says he had no idea we were coming, but
It is what it is. Well, he knows where to find you. You're across the river.
it's bullshit. It really is.
So Halsey, give us some dirt on this guy. He's always talking.
There's no
shit.
dirt.
I mean, come
tell
on.
us everything.
Give me a topic.
What was it like? I mean, was he a slob living with?
I wouldn't say a slob.
Not the cleanest.
It was entertaining, to say the least. I mean, this guy is 30 years old, and I'm like 21, and I am way more mature than him.
Well, let me go quickly. So Halsey's number one pick. We're all excited to meet him, and I meet him on the first day of training camp, and we're both waiting in line to see the dentist or some shit, and I introduced myself, and something ended up happening. Where at that point in the conversation, did you chirp me? Remember?
No, it was like my first night out in Edmonton. We were out together.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. The team went out together, and we're all drinking, and he kind of started like giving it to me a little bit. And Sean Horkoff, our buddy, he's the captain. Times like, hey, show him a little respect. Fucking Halsey, this guy played in the Olympics. Halsey goes, yeah, he played fucking 3 minutes a game. And I couldn't even not laugh. I'm like, this fucking kid.
Remember that hat on you had? You were trying out like those.
The Scally cap.
Train conductor hats.
He always wears one too. He was shitting on me for wearing this thing.
And looking back, I'm like 18, and this guy's like 10 years older than me. Like, been to the Cup Finals, Olympics, and I'm just like giving it to him. I'm probably a little bit too cocky.
But it's kind of why I really fell in love with Halsey, because I was like, this kid doesn't give a shit. And then Eberle was like by his side. They would just laugh at stuff together.
Are those all your still natural chiclets? Right there?
My two front ones, they're veneers now.
Okay.
Me and you, we both got the front veneers.
Was it from chirping veterans? Did someone crack them out on
How
you?
did you lose those?
No, they just kept getting chipped, and then I got traded here, and the dentist is like, hey.
He's like, we're out of Canada, bud.
Yeah.
You can get your teeth fixed now.
Yeah, seriously. I don't think Edmonton wanted to pay for my teeth, so as soon as I got here, they're like, yeah, no problem.
So what's, like, obviously you just brought up New Jersey. Now, Edmonton, New Jersey, man, I can't imagine two different locales. So what's the adjustment been like? I mean, what's the biggest major difference other than you can go out in public in New Jersey and not get mobbed? What's the biggest difference from Edmonton to New Jersey?
I mean, the weather. Like, it's 15 degrees today.
That's
wait, hold on.
Hold on.
He's getting all European.
No,
shit.
he taught me a great trick. Do you remember the trick you taught me? It's ×2 plus 30.
It's actually it's like a 9 to 5 ratio plus 32.
What am I? Wait, Goodwill
Smart
Hunting
kid.
over here?
He's smarter than he looks. I'm telling you, he's got these little things. Sometimes he can outsmart you. It's 15 ×2 is 30 plus 30 60. It's 60 here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful day.
9 to 5. That's what I do now. 9 to 5 job. But
the biggest difference, I mean, just like the pressure is a lot different. In Edmonton, it's just like a fishbowl.
Yeah.
And we couldn't even go to the mall by the end there. And for here, it's just, like you said, being able to walk around. And, I mean, we get fans, we get media and stuff, but it's nothing. Like, I mean, I could go 10 games goalless, and in Edmonton, there'd be reporters every day asking
they'd be
you
burning
about it.
steaks at his house that we lived at. Score a goal! And here you can just The other thing is, though, how great is the travel in the East, dude?
Okay, so we actually, our first 50 games of the year, we spent like 32 on the road. It was insane. Wow. So I couldn't get it. Like, I was like, oh, this is brutal here. But since like January 25th, I've spent all but like 2 nights in my own bed. Like, we go to Philly, we go to Long Island, we play the Rangers. Like, we're just busing there and back. It's crazy. And I'm really starting to tell at this point in the season that my body is just feeling a little bit better than it would in Edmonton, flying around like 4,000 miles a month. It's crazy.
People don't realize, like, you think of, the Eastern and West Conference have different style of play, but dude, in Edmonton and for the Ducks too, and for like the Stars, every flight is 3 hours. Like, and besides when you play Calgary and those California teams.
And there are some teams that like they don't leave the East Coast after like the certain part of the schedule. Like,
and you're in your bed all the time after away games.
Yeah, there's a couple teams actually in the West that have sneaky, like, terrible travel, like Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas, no one even thinks about.
Dallas is nowhere close to anywhere. Like Phoenix, these teams, that's a lot too. And then, like, we're taking a bus to go play Long Island. It's great,
dude.
Man.
That's actually nice. Huh? Do you guys ever take the train?
No.
Yeah, that would. I think sometimes Philly will take the train.
Yeah, that's like the old school way. That's like they used to do it back.
It's like
in
a
the
Bobby
day.
Orr, you know, Bobby Orr used to take the train to play the Canadians.
I heard Mel Schmidt was the conductor back in the day. Now, Taylor, when you were in Edmonton, you know, obviously they drafted a lot of young guys, or talented guys, all forwards, more forwards. It seemed like they kind of just drafted all you guys and put you all out there and just kind of expected things to happen. Did they put too much pressure maybe on you guys' shoulders, you think? Like, just, you know, a young collection of forwards and they just expected, like, this, you know, magic to happen without really giving you all the complementary pieces you need?
I mean, Witz can talk about it too. That I don't think there was the right mix of players. Like, you got to build from the back end out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as a forward, you can only have such an impact on the game. And I will say that I think we could have used some better defensemen.
100%. It was the worst D-core,
and that's not to chirp Witz. I mean, Witz was playing on half an ankle in his
half
last
an
year.
Ankle.
And you know, like the first year that I played with you, you were unreal, and then you got
that was the end. I got hurt at Christmas time,
and we didn't have the forwards. Myself, like, we didn't do a good enough job, but we didn't have the veteran back end presence that we needed, especially when we had such young forwards.
Right. Every good team has good defensemen. And you look at most Stanley Cup winners, they have a stud on the back.
Every single Stanley Cup winner has, like,
a superstar. I mean, you look at Char with the Bruins, Duncan Keith, all the Blackhawks, Doughty. You have to have, like, a stud. And then after that, all those teams have really elite number 2 guys.
Right.
So, like you said, you really do have to build from the goal out. We had Dubnyk, who at the time would be like he is now one game.
Yeah.
And then be like an East Coast League goalie the next game. So there was no, like, he was young and he didn't have the confidence, and Khabibulin was still there. Habby Been Boozin', the best nickname ever. That guy is the man.
He was the man. He was like the most misunderstood player I ever played with. Like, when guys are out there like, hey, how messed up was that Khabibulin? I'm like, no, this guy was like the most prepared player I ever played with.
Yeah, I mean, he was 2004, Lightning, Calgary.
The brick wall.
Yeah, the Bullen wall. Well, he had the
Bullen wall.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I said this. People were like, "Oh, how miserable is that Russian Khabibulin?" I was like, he's actually the nicest guy in the world. Every day he runs an hour on the treadmill. He's shredded somehow. I was like, he's not really Habby Been Boozin'. Like, it's not an accurate nickname.
I mean, that was a Conn Smythe-worthy effort in 04. Who was it? Brad Richards won it because he had a monster points. But I mean, if they had given it to Khabibulin, nobody would have killed it.
Back to Edmonton, real quick. Do you think the media was fair to you there?
I have no problems with the media and how they handled me. Right to the very end, even when I went back, they were all, they defended me really well. And
because we weren't sure, because we were talking before you came on, and we didn't know if it was not national scrutiny. Because last year there was the Bruins, trade rumors. Everyone in Boston was talking about Taylor Hall coming to the Bruins, and we didn't think that was fair. That was fair of I don't know if it was fans or media to put you in that light. And as RA you've done everything right since you were in Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean,
they just needed it. They would just talk about trades because they were so bad. It was just constant rumors.
They're still they're in a playoff spot this year, and Eberle and Nugent Hopkins are in trade rumors all the time. It's just the way it is in a Canadian market. But I always found that all of those guys, all of the media guys in Edmonton, like the TSN guys, Sportsnet guys, I never had a problem with them. And the stuff that they wrote, I always found, even if it was criticism, I always thought it was fair. I don't think you can say that in some markets like Montreal and Toronto. Like, those guys are cutthroat.
That's way different,
But in Edmonton, it's a step below that, and I always found them easy to deal with.
Is Boston in that market? Is Boston cutthroat?
No, because it's
maybe for other sports, but I don't think hockey.
Exactly, hockey's the difference in hockey media in Canada and the States is it's astounding. It's
really
every single day in Edmonton, and like he said, Toronto and Montreal is very like. It's like they need to make up stories. It's like 6 pages a day. So even in Edmonton, you'd go to the rink and you'd have practice. After practice, they'd open the doors to media. 20 people are in there.
It's like
at least maybe 30.
It's like the NFL here, then, essentially.
And you go to Jersey practice or you go to the Bruins, and there's like 6, and just naturally, it just isn't. Every practice day in Edmonton, the next day in the paper, there's 5 pages about the current state, the Oilers, the last game, the lineups, that game, the lines in practice, and at some point, you're like, I'm going to Joey's trying to get a steak, and some guy's telling me I suck and I should blow him.
What we need to do on the power play.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Remember,
like a slap shot.
Remember the spaceship thing? How whenever we'd get back from a road trip.
So, we just used to just crack joke. We just talking about Edmonton. We're like, God, it's like 1970 up here. Like, holy fuck, they're just getting music that was released 3 years ago in America. So we would go home from road trips, and if we ever landed before 1 or 12, we'd try to shoot quick to get a last call at a bar, and we'd walk in, and people would be like, "Holy shit, Hall, Whitney, you guys played tonight. How are you here?" We're like. We took a flight home. They're like, oh, my. They couldn't even imagine it. We used to just be like, yeah, we took this spaceship to get back to the bar here at Joey's.
1.21 gigawatts.
They had no idea. They were just and then remember the Ferrari they had in the West Edmonton Mall?
Yeah.
West Edmonton Mall, it had a Lamborghini to show off. By the way, West Edmonton Mall has 7 Aldos in it.
Really?
It's a mile long, I think. It's just one of the biggest malls in the world. There's a swimming pool. No, there's a water park, amusement park. And there's also a gun range. That's where we used to go shoot
bowling
guns.
alley.
Love Canada. I love Canada already. I'm a big Canada guy now.
But I did want to bring up that I went through it the same way you did. When you get traded the first time, right? I remember in Pittsburgh, you've grown with a certain amount of guys, and you have all these jokes, and you're so comfortable in the locker room that it's just kind of shocking. And I think that you probably had to deal with the thought of just being in a different place. It wasn't even the fact of where you're going. It's all about oh my God, I'm not going to be here anymore. So was that hard for you, or was that?
Yeah, it was really hard. Different than you. I got traded in the off season, so I had a lot of time to
That's different. It's almost easier how I just got to hop in and play. Yeah,
exactly. So I had all summer to think about it. I had training camp and everything. So it was really. It was hard at first, and you get drafted first overall to a team. You never think that you're going to get traded 5 or 6 years
until Peter Chiarelli comes to town.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about Chiarelli?
No, let him.
Chiarelli was always that. One of the things that I was really shocked at was when I got traded was Chiarelli trading me, because even when I was getting drafted, he loved me then. We always had a good rapport, and our year-end meetings, he told a couple of guys maybe, okay, you might get traded. We need to, shake things up. And he didn't say anything like that to me. So that's why I was really caught off guard when it kind of happened.
Yeah, it was just shocking. I remember I was in England on a golf trip on a bus with 16 guys, 12 of them current NHLers, and Subban trade happened. Or was you first?
I was first.
So you were first, and I was like, holy fuck, Halsey got traded. He's like, for who? I was like, Larson, and everyone's like, well, who else? Who else? I'm like, just Larson. They're like, what the fuck? They're like, what? That's it's a joke. And then the Subban Weber thing happened, and I just remember being like, whoa, what a day in hockey.
And then Stamkos
signed.
signed. That was a crazy.
That was
day.
That was that day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, are you pals with Tyler Seguin? I remember that the lead up to that draft was endless. Who was going to go number one? I mean, you guys can have a support group now. Getting traded from Peter Chiarelli.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay up, Peter.
No, I like Segs, and we came to Boston before the draft. Then we came there together. We we toured Fenway, and we stayed at the Liberty Hotel.
Yeah,
I really like Boston. I like that city a lot.
Yeah, we got to get you down this summer.
Can I ask you, does any part of you, like you said, you don't ever expect being number 1 overall, getting traded after 5 years. Does any part of you wish that you went 2 overall and you went to Boston? You'd probably have a Stanley Cup.
I think...
Very true.
Connecting the
but
dots.
it's tough to say, dude.
Yeah.
Because Seguin scored those goals against Tampa. He's a righty. Maybe Halsey coming down that side doesn't score on those goals.
Maybe Halsey puts in 3 when Seguin only put in 2.
Very true.
I don't know. I know that when I was in my draft year, I was hoping that Boston was going to win the lottery because I really wanted to go there. Bobby Orr's my agent. Kind of touring around there. It was a sick city. Yeah. So, and I knew that they had that left wing spot that eventually was going to need to be filled, and that would have been a prime place to play. And
Seguin had that city on lockdown.
Yeah, I mean
he ran that city.
Yeah, but meanwhile, he needed to be on lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll say it a million times. The Blackhawks could have traded fucking Kane when he was running around. If you're partying and you're 19 years old and you're hooking up with girls and you get mad at someone for them, you're an idiot.
No, and I'm just breaking balls. I've long said the Bruins butchered that by not publicly embarrassing him first. I mean, they just kind of did it out of nowhere. Like where it's like Toronto, Nazem Kadri was screwing around. They benched him for 3 games. I mean, that's embarrassing for a player when you can't play like that. And the Bruins never went that tack. They just said, fuck it, we're done with you, and they got rid of him. And it's like they never played that last trump card.
Remember when I started getting scratched the last year of playing together? So I got scratched our last year together. It was the lockout. Lockout year was our last season together. So I got scratched probably 20 games into the 48-game year, and I'd never been scratched as a pro. I was like, holy fuck, like this, it's just so depressing. And Halsey was really nice, like, dude, don't worry about it. And then I kept getting scratched. And then by a month or 2 later, I would sit there, I'd be playing Tiger Woods, and he'd come back, he'd be going to the game. He's like, you playing? I'm like, no. He's like, sorry, bro. It was just like we just totally like watched me fall down the tube of healthy Scratchville, and I was like, the only thing that was good is we used to play Tiger Woods, me and him. We'd play like $500 Nassau's.
I love that game. That's a hell of a game.
Oh my god!
And we would be pressing on 18, and I was getting really good being a healthy scratch. I would get extra time to play. This guy was getting mad at shots I could hit. I remember it like it was yesterday. If we had Venmo then, that could have been ugly.
Yeah, true. Remember how good I was out of the sand?
This guy goes in the bunker in that game, and you're like, oh, he's done. He's putting it to an inch. I'm like, fuck you. Screaming. Eberle's like trying. No, Eberle, by the way, be playing his guitar. So Ebbs is the worst guitar player. I hope he listens. But he plays all the time.
He's the guy at the party that breaks it out.
Yeah, he's like, hold on. Let me play Stairway to Heaven. You're like, no,
Stairway, denied.
Turns off the live music, or turns off the music so he can play live, and it's just a buzzkill.
That's the worst.
DJ buzzkill.
So I want to. I have a question for you about earlier in your life and career, but I do need to tell everyone that he had one of the best chirps all time to Glenn Anderson. I don't know if you guys know who Glenn Anderson is.
Hall of Fame of the Edmonton's heyday.
So Glenn Anderson, by the way, would come to Edmonton random nights and party, and he would go to after parties, right? So one year he goes, and it was when Poker Face by Lady Gaga was really big. So there was this after party at this house, and all these people there, and Glenn Anderson's like, I want Poker Face on the entire time, on repeat. People were like kind of laughing. So
dude, how old are you?
It plays and shuts off. He flips out, what the fuck, I want Poker Face on. So he leaves it on the whole time. So he'd always be out and about at bars, and Halsey scored his first game winner. That night, it was a Saturday night, and we go out, and we're out at this bar after, and we're drinking, and Glenn Anderson's loaded. He comes up, he's saying hi, and he's like, hey, congrats on your game winner, your first game winner. You just only got to get 65 more, and you can tie me. He's the all-time leader in game-winning goes, whatever the number was. Halsey goes.
He was being very rude.
He was being so rude. He was so drunk. And Halsey goes, oh, yeah, congratulations on scoring the 4-1, the fourth goal in a, what did you say to him?
In an 8-3 win.
Congratulations on scoring the fourth goal in an 8-3 win in 1985, 57 times. So it's just, Glenn's like this.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm pretty sure that Kevin Lowe called him and was like, hey, don't go around the young guys anymore.
Yeah, don't leave the young guys alone, dude. You were good. It's over. That's what's so hard. People just can't
let go. Yeah,
let go. Especially when you were like a legend in the town.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it wasn't
time
like
to let go.
I mean, he wasn't a slouch either. I mean, he's got a pretty good resume.
He was
He's an amazing player.
He was nasty.
for sure.
He was great.
You
out
just
front.
get loaded and be rude.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to start asking guys that we have on that played or play. I thought about this. Tell me what you think about this.
Big J journalist.
Yeah, he's a big media member.
What about
the
question? What about the question? If we ask guys, do you remember when you were like, I can play in the NHL?
That's a great question.
Do you remember the moment you're like, dude, I'm gonna do this. Like, I can do this.
I think like my 15-year-old year, so the year before I went to the OHL, I got really good.
Yeah.
And I think it was then Bobby Orr came to my house. I was 14, and I think then I was like, okay, like if I don't play in the NHL, then something went wrong. And I went to Windsor the following year as a 15-year-old, and I think I scored 4 goals my like 10th game there, and I was like, okay, I gotta not only play in the NHL but go really high. But I was a pretty, like, I always played on the top team growing up, but I was never, like, the best player. Mm-hmm. I was good. I remember playing against guys like Cody Eakin were better than me growing up. Guys like Braden Shen were better than me. We're all the same age in Western Canada. And then I moved to Ontario. Guys like Duchesne were better than me when I first started. And then I started getting pretty good around 15.
So then you went, what year, what'd you get drafted in the O?
2007, I went second overall. O'Reilly went first.
Ryan O'Reilly went first.
To Erie, yeah. And I went second. Cizikas went third. Cassian went fourth. And Duchesne went fifth.
That's pretty sick that an OHL draft, all 5 guys have good, solid careers in the NHL.
Now, growing up, sorry, Mike.
You're going to ask the same one I am, I bet.
What was your parents' approach growing up? Were they like hockey parents, or did they just let you go if you loved the game? They let you go at your own pace, or did they push you? No, your dad played in the CFL, correct?
Yeah, like my dad trained me all growing up, and still
does, right?
Still does, yeah. His
dad's an animal.
My dad would build rinks for me, and he never played hockey, but he was a big athlete, and I wouldn't say like he pressured me or anything, but he definitely pushed me.
Right.
And I'm glad that he did. I loved the game a lot. If I didn't like it, he wouldn't have done it. But I think he saw that I had potential, and from there, both my parents were, trying to keep me on the straight and narrow. I never had a problem as a kid doing that, but they helped me out in everything I needed to do, for sure.
Is it the straight and arrow or the straight and narrow?
Straight and narrow.
Okay.
I got it right.
He totally
you did get it right.
He totally thought it was straight and narrow.
I thought it was straight and narrow.
Of course you did.
Thought it was straight and narrow. Fuck.
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask, Whit talked a few episodes ago about, kind of not why I didn't go to the NHL, but why I didn't succeed as a hockey player, and, why he did. He had that drive where he's shooting pucks before school every day, after school every day. Was it like that for you? Were you... Yeah. Did you ever, feel yourself going above and beyond as a kid, as opposed to all the other kids?
Yeah, like I'd go to hockey tournaments, and how everyone plays mini sticks in the hallway. Like all the kids are doing that, and I'm taking like pregame naps and like having like BioSteel before games and stuff. And I'm like 12 years old. Jeez. So
usually we're going to McDonald's. He was like doing active warm-ups and crushing BioSteel and doing wrist curls before the games.
Looks like it worked.
I had a backyard rink, and then like if I had a minor hockey game at 7, I'd be on the ice at like 4:30 for half an hour, like just kind of warming up, and then my dad would take me to the rink. So,
but you loved it, right?
It was all stuff that I loved to do, and I mean, I was a pretty huge nerd until I got like into junior, and I kind of learned how to be like a hockey guy and be one of the boys, but until then, like hockey was pretty much all I did.
Big hockey guy.
I was the biggest nerd too. I remember in high school just having absolutely zero game with girls and being I'd be like, I have hockey, I don't need them.
Yeah,
and then you get to college and guys are really good at hockey and they have girls. I'm like, oh shit, now I got to start learning how to do this.
Yeah, that's what I'd be like. I'll be good at hockey, and eventually I'll get girls because of that.
That'll get it done for me.
In high school, I remember a girl came and asked me to prom. She was like 2 years older than me, and I couldn't get a word out. Like that's how I was in grade 9.
That is the thinking back. I'm like, I gotta go do some push-ups. Sorry, I can't.
Wait, let me ask you, what? Like now that you've been removed from the NHL for 2 or 3 years, what is something that like I wouldn't realize I take for granted a lot?
Oh. So much too. How much time do we have?
What's a couple big things?
Going out to dinner on the road with your buddies is I would do anything. I almost want to just like see your schedule and then like be like, all right, I'll just kind of go like on their road trip and randomly be in those cities so I can have dinner the night before game with Halsey and stuff, because you just don't have it anymore. It's so at home. Even my buddies at home, everyone's, all my friends, I mean, they're married, they have kids on the way, or they have kids, and so I don't even like do much anymore. And so you miss so much, like just being out to dinner, dude, playing the credit card game. I would take a loss in credit card game to have a dinner with the boys. No problem at all. And that and the flights, because now whenever I'm flying, I'm just this Muppet waiting in security, asking for apple juice on the plane. She's giving me that midget can. I'm sitting in middle row. It's just that stuff. Just I
get this guy a fillet.
I miss
seriously,
playing cards, having a fillet.
Life's
Dude,
a
you get
bitch.
on the plane. There's sushi. There's chicken quesadillas. There's candy. There's ice cream. There's cereal. It was pretty much like you could ask the flight attendant for anything and she'd get it for you. There was no like they didn't. Oh, we don't have it. Because if you wanted it, they'd just go get it.
Do you guys get boozed up on those flights?
Are you guys drinking on the flights now?
We don't have alcohol on ours.
So that's changed. So when I came into the league, there would be 6 beers under every guy's seat after like road games. Now, if you played the next night, there wouldn't be. And then it slowly started changing. But even at the end, when I was with him, we would if we had a Western road trip and then played L.A. last game and then the flight home, there'd be booze for us. But it's kind of crazy because you don't really think about like everyone's getting in cars and driving home after. I think that started like changing things a little bit. The guy passed away.
Steve Jason down in Carolina. Yeah, that kind of.
So like you start thinking like, all right, well these guys are all crushing 20 beers on this flight.
Yeah.
And
my first year in Edmonton, there was anything you wanted, no limit, and it was free like free pour.
Yeah, I know.
And
we would just have bottles of Grey Goose, like, and not even have like. Just be like, oh, splash a crayon at the end of that.
No, it was Newfie pours. It was like
exactly.
This.
So, Taylor, I'm taking a look at the cap friendly page, assuming it's correct. Now, you don't have a no trade clause, no movement clause.
I correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you're under 25, you can't have that.
Oh, that's I forget how young. It seems like you've been around for so long, but I forget how young you still are.
I'm 25 now.
Okay,
is this your seventh year in the league?
Isn't that nuts?
And you're 25.
Same age. Would you guess we're the same age? I wouldn't. Not even close.
No.
Not even close.
What about you, Marina? What do you think?
Like, not even close.
So, have you been given assurances that?
Yeah.
Have you been given assurances from Jersey that you don't have to worry about this with the trade deadline coming up? I know locker rooms start to get antsy. Have they told you don't worry about it where they already got you? Or?
I don't know if
they want to trade you.
No, I mean it would be fucking stupid if they did. But I didn't know. You mentioned Chiarelli didn't give you any warning like he did with other players, and I didn't know if New Jersey might have said, the deadline's here. Don't worry about it. Last thing we want to do is.
I think at a deadline, you never see those moves like I was traded for. You don't see those happen at the deadline,
right?
That's more.
I think more and more it's starting to be like GMs meet at the draft. I think that's where the first conversations between Shiro and Chiarelli happened, were the second day of the draft. So, I mean, I don't know if they wanted to trade me. I guess they could on the deadline, but I would be shocked. I think there's a few guys in our room that know they're probably going to get traded, and they're having that dialogue with their agents.
Okay. So on deadline day, what is it like in the locker room? We've talked to Whit about it before, but do guys come to you as like you said, you're probably not getting traded. Do guys come to you and are they like, Halsey, you think I'm going to get traded? Like, what do you think? You know
what the weirdest thing about deadline day is that we're watching TSN and we're watching Sportsnet, and we see the trades happen on the TV before guys even know about them.
That's what's brutal.
Yeah, that shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, but it'll only get worse at this point. Yeah, that's not turning around.
Twitter and all that.
But the deadline is it's so funny because when I was in Pittsburgh and I was like one of the core guys, my first 3 years, I was having good seasons. I was like. I wasn't getting traded. I was like, I'm not getting traded. I'm part of the core. I'm 24, 23 years old. This is great. Fast forward, I get traded. I got traded the first time the week before the deadline. From then on, the deadlines the rest of my career were the worst days ever because now you're like, and it's different for him. But I was like, got to Anaheim. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I got traded the next deadline. And I also, that deadline, it's 3 o'clock it ends, but stuff always comes in at like until 3:30 because technically if you have it into the league before 3, it can then whatever. So Bob McKenzie tweeted out at 2:50 Eastern. It was 11:50 in Anaheim. We had a game that night against the Avalanche. Anaheim's decided to hold on to Ryan Whitney and James Wisniewski. They won't be traded. I was like, oh, yes. Like, I just got in there. We weren't even in the playoffs at the time, but I just was like, fuck, I don't want to get traded again. And I checked Twitter. Fuck, 20 minutes later, I'm traded. I got a phone call, and it's Bob Murray, GM of Anaheim. I don't know if I've told this on this podcast before.
I think so, but let's.
And I said,
forget it. He's rolling.
He said, I traded you. I was like, what? Where? And he goes, Edmonton, sorry. I go, holy fuck! No! And I called my mom, and she was like, no! She goes, that's so far. I'm like, I know. Believe me, they're in dead last place.
Doesn't it make you feel wanted, though, when you get traded so much?
No, it really, that time it didn't.
I don't think about it like that.
Yeah, for some reason you don't. And that's what like people tell you, like, hey, that just means they want you. But at the time, you're just like, yeah, but it means that they didn't want me.
Right.
So that part is just, it's just difficult. But I'll be on Sportsnet trade deadline Wednesday,
right?
I'm hoping it's on NHL Network. Around. I don't know. Usually they show TSN or Sportsnet.
Yeah, NHL Network usually wires in one of the Canadian networks.
But it's 8 to 3.
Yeah, it's like a big holiday up there.
8 to 3. It's myself, Colby Armstrong.
Big J Journo.
Yeah, Big J Journo. And I think Brizgalov's on with us.
Oh yeah.
We got to get him on here as well.
He's bananas, man.
He's crazy.
He's getting paid by the Flyers longer than Bobby Bonilla is getting paid by the Mets, I think.
Not longer than Rick DiPietro by the Islanders.
Oh, God.
Ricky D.
Their agents, man.
Getting bought out is actually incredible. Because then you get another contract usually, and you're getting paid by 2 teams.
Yeah, double Parento got bought out by Montreal, and he said last year he made like $200,000 more than he would have.
It's perfect. It's unbelievable.